All Fin fans know the 2022 season is huge for so many reasons. But nobody is going to be under the microscope like Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua. He's been a lightning rod for huge praise and huge criticism, but this is the year where he's going to get his evaluations. Now, media is going to be talking about it. Fans are going to be talking about it. It's going to be the topic of topics for the Miami Dolphins. Just recently, Chris Simms came out and did his quarterback rankings, and Tua was ranked 29th. So I want to deal with his show, his comments from an analytical standpoint as far as using statistics and analytics and context to show whether he was right or wrong, in my opinion. Now, I agree with stuff that he said. Some people that are Fin fans that love Tua don't agree with Chris Simms because he hasn't been a fan of Tua into sense saying he's going to be elite. Now, again, I like Chris Simms, and even the best evaluators get it wrong. So I don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But I don't think Chris Simms is totally wrong or totally right. Key elements of his statements, I think, though, are fundamentally misguided. And I'm going to get into that with a lot of statistics. Now, he said, the funny thing, he goes, there's people out there, the Tua fans, they're like the fanatics. I ain't one. I didn't want to draft Tua because of the hip injury. I thought it was prohibitive to take a quarterback like that. I have my concerns as far as his ceiling, but the floor is what we're talking about. The floor, I think people have his floor so low, think it's out of whack. And that's really what I want to get into. Now, framework is the key. In the NFL, framework is the key. These guys' whole lives are designed within a framework. And they lose their mind, some of them, when they're out into the world and they got to make their own decisions because it's all been guided. Framework is key. It's key in life. It's key in football. You take Bob Greasy, Hall of Fame quarterback. Would he be in the Hall of Fame and won 2 Super Bowls with the Miami Dolphins offense of Dan Marino throwing the football all day long and having no run game? No. Would Phil Simms, Chris Simms' father, Chris Simms should know this, would Phil Simms have had the same success if he had been with the Dolphins and had to throw all day long? No. Would Marino have been successful with the 70s Dolphins and the 80s Giants? Yes. Bigger, stronger, faster always makes things easier, and talent is talent. But the framework can reduce great talent like it did with Marino, or it can elevate very good talent like Greasy and Simms to greatness. Framework. And that's what I want to get into. To me, this is the key. And I'm going to deal not in platitudes, but concrete information. So, one statement was absolutely correct that Chris Simms said. Tua can't carry like Josh Allen. Let's not even talk about it. Obviously, Josh Allen did a podcast. This guy is super, super duper cream of the crop of the cream of the crop, the elite of the elite as far as talent. Tua will never, ever be in that category, but he can win more. Joe Montana wasn't as talented as Marino, and he won 4 Super Bowls, and Marino won 0. The framework. Got to stick with the framework. Is Tua good enough in the proper framework to create success? It's not about winning a Super Bowl with the most elite quarterback. It's just about winning the Super Bowl. And guys like Simms, Phil Simms, who I have huge respect for, won 2. Greasy, who I have huge respect for, is my guy growing up. He won 2 Super Bowls. Without the framework, that never would have happened. So he talked about his positives. He said slick, some leadership, athleticism, movement skills, pretty good release. And he was fair enough to say, I don't give enough credit for his movement skills. I've talked about it a lot. His ability to go vertical in the pocket and to pick up yards when things break down is very good. But I disagree with this one. He doesn't have a pretty good release. He's got an elite release. And this is a big deal. This can come into play. Obviously, Dan Marino had the elite release and everything else. I'm not saying he's Marino, but that elite release is key. Some of the negatives were arm strength, height, left big throws on the field, bad throws, can't cut it through the wind of Buffalo. And one he didn't put down, he should have, which would have been absolutely fair, was the injury history. Can he stay healthy? Now, obviously, he doesn't have a big arm to it. I did a huge 2 or 3 hour study on it, showed from in 2018 before the injuries, it was much better, his arm. His mechanics were much better, and as he got injured, the arm strength diminished because the mechanics fell apart. To me, it's not about his arm strength. It's about the mechanics. His arm, it's not about does he have a cannon, does he have good enough arm strength? And I'm going to deal with this through the analytics to show you clearly he does. Now, can't cut through to win at Buffalo. 5, 6, 7 guys maybe can. This is why run game is extremely critical. Now, I'm going to start taking his thoughts and deal with the stats and the analytics. Again, context is key. And I've said this before, I'm going to use a lot of graphics because I think sometimes it loses translation when I'm talking and without the graphics. We ran 12 personnel, our big package, which is meant for protection and running the football, unless you got Gronk and Hernandez, who, totally unique mold. But generally speaking, your big package, 2 tight ends, protection and running the football. We ran that 61% of the time compared to the rest of the league, 21%. The rest of the league ran the nickel 61%, and we ran it 28%. So we were in this nickel 3 times more than the rest of the league, which meant we should have great protection and be able to run the football, but we couldn't do either. Now, someone will say, basics do it. I'll get into that. Now, personnel groupings and the personnel within those groupings creates balance or imbalance in the matchups. And we all know NFL is about matchups. Our 12 personnel, so far out of whack, did not do this. Did not create, it brought imbalance for us, but not for the opposing defenses. Now, we know that Tua couldn't throw in the wind in Buffalo, but he also said, Chris Simms said, that he couldn't throw in the Tennessee game. Let's deal with that one a little bit because there's a lot of miscontext and I still hear people talking all the time and it's not statistically accurate. We should have ran the football more. Flores was an idiot. We would have won. Wait till you see the actual stats. Okay, we ran 12 personnel 68% of the time, 40 plays. We ran nickel 25% of the time, 15 plays. Now, if you look at first down, those people would be right. We ran 12 personnel 81% of the time. Our run rate was 32%. Our success rate was 57%. Our yards per rush was 7.1, and we had 7 rushing attempts. But let's go to second and third down. We ran 12 personnel 88% on second down. Run rate was 70%. We had 0% success, 1 yard per carry, and 3 rushing attempts. Third down, 12 personnel, 17% of the time. We ran 100% of the time. We had 0% success, 3 yards per carry, and we ran it twice. It was a rain-slick field, and the Titans came out in their nickel package, small package, against all large. They let us run on first down and shut it down in the critical and second and third downs. So you got your big run. It goes, look at them, we should keep running. First down. But then, when we needed that first down in second and third down, we didn't get it because our offensive line and blocking units around the tight ends and backs could not block. 12 personnel, 61% of the time, 3 times the rest of the league. We fundamentally failed in our formation group and personnel within that formation group. Tua was throwing to a nickel in the wind. He couldn't do anything. So you can't say this guy couldn't throw in that game. It was designed for him to fail. There was no way for him to succeed. Maybe Mahomes or Allen could have with their legs and then adding in the passing game, but Marino would have struggled to just throw in those conditions. So they also spoke about intended air yards. They said Tua was 34th in the league at 20-plus yard throws, and he only completed 7%. He has not the arm to complete it. But the other guy talking to Simms said that his completion percentage was second in the league at 48.3. Again, 12 personnel does not create the personnel groupings or personnel to get depth of plays. You don't say, I'm throwing 20-yard plus. We're doing it, guys. It comes through the evolution of trickery or mismatches or breakdowns. Guys come to the line of scrimmage and they leave a hole and you get the... Miami couldn't do this. They were in 12 personnel with Durham Smythe, who can't catch. I mean, he can catch, but he can't make... And then Gesicki, who is a late play developer, mid to late play developer. But add some more stats. Key stat. We had a big 12 personnel and we couldn't protect. The pressure rate on Tua on a pass play was 2.2 seconds, which was unbelievably disastrous, especially when you understand the rest of the league was running nickels way more. And this guy had everything set up to protect him, and we still couldn't do it. Defenses don't care about controlling the LOS because they could do it with 4 guys. So they take away the mid and deep passes and give you the underneath. This is why he had so many underneath throws. Again, it's not saying Tua has the arm to go deep and excusing his arm and saying it's great. None of that stuff. I'm just telling you the context. There's no way that you're taking on a regular basis 20-yard plus plays when you're in 12 personnel all day and the defense is playing over coverage in nickels and stuff. No way. Yards after the catch. Mahomes, there's another topic they brought up. Number 1 in the league. But he was in 12 personnel 8% of the time for the season. Tua was 27th for yards after the catch, and he was in 12 personnel 61% of the time. When a defense knows you got 2 wide receivers, and half the time it was just 1 because Park was in and out, and then you had Ford and Hollins and Gesicki, you just play over. You play over, and you don't really play man. Breakdowns don't happen. You can't hold the ball past 2.2 seconds, so you can't let the developing plays break open to get those big plays. That's where a lot of them come from. So it was all designed for him not to have this kind of success. 10 to 20-yard plays is what I say is going to make or break Tua. If he cannot drastically grow in a situation in this 10 to 20-yard mark, then he's the guy we got to move on from. But because this is the foundation, the backbone for all the top quarterbacks in all passing offenses. And he's got the arm for it. Now, you might want to say maybe on those outs, maybe not. I have to get into the biggest study on that. But generally speaking, then most of these 10 to 20-yard plays aren't outs. They come from play action. They come from rack. They come from breakdowns and all this stuff. Let's go look at the list of players. Number 1, Herbert, 208. 10 to 20-yard attempts. Brady, 2. Mahomes, 3. Carr, 4. Dak, 5. Allen, 6. Burrow, 7. Stafford, 8. Tannehill, 9. Rodgers, 10 at 163 attempts. Tua was 30th at 98. Russell Wilson was 24th. He was the aberration, successful quarterback, not in that. But remember, his is the deep ball and the movements. He scrambles around a lot and makes that. Tua can't do that. He neither has the arm or the mobility. And he had 116 of them. And then Lamar was 25th, another aberration. He had 112, but he's got the legs to do that. Tua doesn't. So you want to knock Tua? That's what you could say about him. But in a system, Garoppolo was number 12. So if Garoppolo can create and get top 15, top 12 in these 10 to 20-yard plays, Tua in the right framework can do the same thing. His arm is equivalent to Garoppolo, if you want to be on the low end of it. But here's the big one for those who say he doesn't have the arm. And I'm not saying he has a great arm. I'm saying it's enough. Okay? He has enough. 20-plus yard plays, Burrow threw 60 of them. Herbert, 52. Tua, 32. Burrow had 2.3 seconds before pressure. We know what a disaster the pressure rate was on this guy. Number 1 sack quarterback in the league. Herbert, 2.4 seconds. Tua, 2.2. But again, let's compare the matchups, the formations, and personnel groupings. Tua was a nickel, 3 wide receivers, 28% of the time. Herbert, 64% of the time. And Burrow, 77%. And this is where a lot of pressure comes from Burrow, but also the big plays. Tua does not have the formation grouping to challenge this area. This year he will. If he fails, then we know his floor is not good enough. But there's no way with 2.2 seconds, with 2 tight ends and running backs blocking, that you're going to challenge this deep part of the field. You have no run game. Defenses know you can't run. and they play over coverage and play to pass. This is the context why I disagree with Phil Simms, not on the ceiling of Tua, but the floor. This is so out of whack, this framework. It's got to be the first thing out of your mouth when you talk about Tua. Because it's not reasonable to have the success that you're asking from this kid with the design of this offense, the personnel groupings, and the production through that personnel grouping. Nobody else in the league could do it. They could have more success than Tua. Allen in the same framework would have more success than Tua, but he wouldn't be the Allen. You'd still be saying, oh, this guy can't throw and this and that. So this is my take. These are the stats. I'm going to do another podcast after this about the play action and how this relates to how we viewed Tua so far. Again, this is not to say Tua is elite, but to give the proper framework for our evaluations. That'll be the next one. It's Curtis saying thanks for staying to the end. Please like, comment, subscribe. Comments mean the most. They really do. Subscribes and likes help us with the Google overlords and keeps me in business because then my sponsors are happy and I can keep studying football. Hope you enjoyed. Catch you next time. This is Curtis saying be well. Go Fins. Bookies can earn hundreds to thousands of dollars from booking action with aceperhead.com.